Then we're all lined up.
Yeah, we're good.
Or should we sing? Or
No singing. No singing. Let's not sing on this one. This is an honour.
Oh, mate,
to be on your show, because I listened to your very informative 30-minute sort of first podcast, and the way that you talk about yourself, sort of not deserving things or not knowing why you're here or why people want to come on and speak to you, it's so interesting because you've achieved so much through obviously the lads, the Stoltman boys, and what Tom and Luke have achieved in their careers, but to you yourself, you've been through a lot.
Yeah, I've done a bit, but it's really weird. We're just going to be two people saying how much of an honour it is. But like, I genuinely wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for coming on yours. Like, it wouldn't have started. I was looking for something to do.
Yeah.
And like the Mulligans who we'll chat about were hassling me to do something, and then I went on your podcast and was like, I've never met this bloke before. Why am I telling him all this mad stuff? And it's like, maybe podcasting can bring people out.
It does that, and it takes people. I mean, I've done so many shows now. Sometimes I'll get a guest that just wants a question, it wants to give an answer, and won't get into a conversation, and that's fine. Quite quickly, I'll understand and realise that. Yeah,
so you're interviewing rather than
you're on an interview. And anyone listening, if you do hear small children in the background, we're recording at my house here, and the kids are in the background, and that's kind of the way the sort of we call ourselves to get after it family. That's how we operate. The kids are always around, and that's what's become of this podcast. It's become a way of me to meet incredible people, but I've started bringing the kids and my wife Abby into these opportunities and to meet incredible people, which is such a buzz. Having you here at my house and telling the kids, Dan's coming. He's the coach of the strongest man in the world. And Hunter and Skylar, they understand that. They've seen you on the Stoltman's YouTube channel. And now you're here and Hunter's asking you questions as he sneaks up to the podcast table here. But it's one of these things that, I don't know, podcasting, it just opens up opportunities if you give it a chance. Because I was rubbish at the start. No, there was no. I didn't know what I was doing.
So when did this all kick off? When did you start? Was it always the Get After It podcast?
No. It was called the proper.
Day one.
Day one was the Property Rugby Club.
Yeah.
And it was my background's played a lot of rugby to sort of a reasonably good amateur level. Won some cups, played at Murrayfield, played all the Scotland age group stuff.
No right.
Captained age group teams and things, but never sort of progressed on. And the business world took over. And I launched a property company in Edinburgh called Ace Property, and we rent and we sell properties. So that's been life, and that's created the sort of the world I have now and looks after the family. But there was a stage in my career when I realised that as I was sort of getting my late 20s, wasn't playing so much rugby, my connection to the rugby world was going adrift. Yeah. And I was very fortunate that a lot of the guys that I played with at rugby that were my age went on to international honours. They became British Lions, and I had good friends so cool. in really, really big changing rooms, and I would get access to tickets, and you'd meet the players and you'd do all that sort of stuff. And I was losing that touch of it. So how can I get into that world again? How can I stay in that world and stay relevant? Because as a business owner, a lot of my business comes through rugby connections, it comes through sports and athletics, things we do like that. So I created the Property Rugby Club podcast, property and rugby, the two things I love. Yeah. And I created a show where I speak to a rugby player and a property expert. And I did that for 5 or 6 episodes and found a producer in Edinburgh, found someone in town, set that up. I originally thought I would do it on my iPhone, but then quickly realised there's a guy, Keith, in the city centre. Met up with him once, and the rest is history. We kicked on from there, and he's produced almost all of my shows. Yeah. We can talk later how things have evolved into a COVID podcast. There's so many Zoom interactions now and conversations, but everything used to be face-to-face. Originally in the podcast studio, and then I built my own studio in my property company.
No way.
So things have evolved.
Really cool, man.
Things have evolved, and things have become, a lot bigger. And the opportunities created now have been. Sorry, as Rocky, come on now, you got to get out here, guys. I thought you were going for a swim in the sea. Mummy's getting her swimming stuff on. Okay, well, we'll come down and join you after, okay?
I'm looking forward to seeing the beach.
Okay.
It's going to be really nice.
It's going to be awesome. But that's what we want to create here at the house. Because we're on the east coast, Longniddry, little village outside Edinburgh, we've got this space here to create fun. You can see as we're recording here in the garage, this is what people might recognise from Instagram with the battle ropes and the fire pit kit and all this stuff. And the Get After It sort of ethos has just evolved because the Property Rugby Club podcast, I started asking adventurers on. I started asking UFC fight. I had a UFC fighter on the Property Rugby Club podcast. It doesn't really tie in.
But, yeah, interesting people to speak to where you can justify it because they're interesting.
Yeah.
But it might not fit with property or rugby.
Yeah. And back then, where are we now? 3 and a bit years ago, I realised quite quickly that I love property and rugby, but I want to speak to so many other people.
Yeah.
I want to speak to anybody. And here's a UFC fighter that he's a friend of a friend. And if I put that invite out, he said, yes, let's do it. When are you coming on? Why would I come on the Property Rugby Club podcast? Don't worry about it. Meet you here this time. We'll do the conversation. And I'm quite like that, whether it's in business or opportunities, and just roll with it.
Yeah.
Go, see what happens, see what evolves and what opportunities it creates.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool way to live as well, because I mean, I've ended up sat in a garage just outside Edinburgh chatting to sort of weirdly someone I used to or do listen to as a podcast. Like, it's on my list of podcasts to listen to, and you know, some of the people you've chatted to it's just mind-blowing to think that you started essentially doing this. And
well, this is on Instagram and the things I do, it might not look like a hobby, but this is a hobby, or some people call it a side hustle.
Yeah.
The property game is still my world. It's still where I operate. It's still what looks after the family. But who knows what's coming? Who knows what's next? Who knows how big the Get After It podcast will get? But COVID, we fast forward to COVID, when I thought my podcast was going to die. I thought it was over because I couldn't get into my office was shut. Everyone was working from home. So
it was all face-to-face before COVID?
Everything was face-to-face. And I was fortunate to have guests come to my studio in the city centre.
Yeah.
Know? And that's where it all happened. And that's where we had some great conversations, some great times. And it was fantastic. And the show was great. I loved doing the show. COVID happened. And I started sort of reaching out to people and saying, hey, look, you're at home. I'm at home. Are you busy? Can we quickly jump on a show, record 45 minutes, and what do you think? Yes. Sounds good, Nashy. When do you want to do it? How's tomorrow? Can we do tonight? I was recording show after show after show at night time after the daily grind, because everyone was working at home, you know?
Yeah, so you've got to do your job.
You've got to do your job, and then you've got to find the time, and that's balancing it around kids. And I mean, we weren't going far during lockdown.
Yeah.
But we're fortunate we've got space out the front here that we could walk to the beach when you're allowed your one time of exercise and all these sorts of things.
It's not a bad place to be locked down, really.
No, we were okay here. We were okay. I can't complain, and we've got space to train. We've got space to do something on your own in this garden.
Yeah.
And still, sorry, these kids. This will make more sense on the video when this goes out, but my children are fascinated by everyone that comes to our house. They're fascinated by you. They know all about you. They've seen you on all the shows that the Stokeman's put out. And it's, for me, this is awesome that we get to do this. And the Get After It podcast has created this for them to see what I do.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
It's nuts.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
I mean, like, come and sit here till you go swimming if you want.
You'll come around and sit? Oh, Rocky's not on the camera. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Off you go, guys. You guys are going. We'll see you down at the beach later, okay? This is exactly, and that sort of...
It's life. It's real life.
This is what I try to create. And on Instagram, we've got the page, the Get After It family.
Yeah.
And that's something that used to just be the Get After It podcast page. But when we got the opportunity, 2.5 weeks ago now, to go up and record with Tom and Luke at the Stockman training facility, Luke took us up to his house. I said, I'm taking the family. We're up north anyway. The whole family's going to go. And we're going to become the Get After It family. We're going to go on these adventures. We're going to seek out, as I keep saying, opportunities. But that's what life's about.
Yeah.
I don't want to selfishly do this on my own. I want to do this with the people that I'm with all the time.
Yeah.
And the more things I can expose my kids to, the better.
Yeah, because their life experiences are going to be like 2 weeks ago they were hanging out with the strongest man in the world.
They were wrestling him. They were arm wrestling Luke, his brother. You know, they were arm wrestling Luke on the edge of the, what have they got, the jacuzzi.
Yes.
Edge of the jacuzzi at the Stoltman Strength Centre with Tom Stoltman looking on, shouting, "Come on, Rocky." These are things that we've captured on video. Then to go up and speak to the boys and listen to their experience in Sacramento, listen to the relationship with you and Tom, and we'll maybe get into that and how you guys connect.
Yeah.
But then how you train Luke has to be slightly different with Tom's autism and the things that you have to, and you can relate to those things.
Yeah, it's a real honour to be, like, I recorded with Luke yesterday. I don't know what the days are anymore. But, you know, it's easy to finish a podcast and be like, "Oh, thank you for coming on." But, like, with Luke, I was like, just thank you. Like, I don't even know what for. Yeah. Just like, I wouldn't be doing this coaching full time because of it. I've got to meet the Mulligans, meet you, like, do so many cool things just because of telling some blokes to pick stuff up. Like, it's mad. When so you started out, what were you doing before that? Have you always been in property? Has that been your work?
Yeah, property. There's a bit of a family connection there, but as I went through the ranks of rugby, and rugby was maybe going to be a route that I followed, but some serious knee injuries, hamstring problems. It was my dad that said, "Look, you need to have something to fall back on." Quite right.
Yeah.
And I got an opportunity in a letting agency in the city centre, and I ran with it, and I loved it. I loved working. I loved the business side of things, and it complemented that I was earning money as I was playing amateur rugby.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was. It's a long time in the past, but I was Scotland under-19 captain. Got into the 21s, went to the World Cups, trained professionally with Edinburgh. Never signed a contract, and actually turned down a contract back in the day because it just wasn't an environment I wanted to be in at the time, because I'd got a taste for building business. I had a taste for renting flats and selling properties, and that's the route that I've never sort of turned my back on, and I've stuck with it, and I've owned my company now for the best part of 17 years.
Yeah.
So it's something amazing, that I got into quite young through opportunities and just showing work ethic and making a lot of mistakes. But I've tried other businesses and enterprises along the way, and a lot of them have failed. Some of them have been good fun. This podcast, it's something that's really stuck.
Yeah.
It's really stuck on, but I'm so passionate about it. It's so I can do a day's work, come home here, be with the kids, and then you arrive.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't think things like this would happen 3 years ago. I didn't think, when people ask me when I'm interviewed on shows, is, I don't know, and there may be lots of people like this, but I've been doing this for 3.5 years without getting paid. I've been investing in this. I've been investing my own money, my own time, because I love it.
Yeah.
I am inspired by it. And I've spoken to some of my heroes. Ken Shamrock. I grew up watching him in the WWF.
Yeah,
you know?
It's wild to think.
He's a UFC legend.
Yeah, like UFC 1. Like, OG, like, just standing there trading punches.
Mm-hmm.
Just a wrestler, what can he do? Oh, wait, he's also a psychopath. Excellent. Let's see how this goes down.
So for me to reach out to him across the wild thing that is social media, and to get a response from his agent, get you speak to all these people, then you get one door shut and you knock on another door and it opens up and you get an opportunity. So I've spoken to many people. Nims Purja.
Yeah.
You know?
Who, like for me, a personal hero.
A hero to millions.
Yeah.
For a guy that does not know how to stop, does not know how to quit. And a friend of a friend introduced me, and then you got to go through the booking agency, then you got to go through the publishing company, then you got I'm doing all these emails at night. I'm sussing out routes. How do I get to that person? Oh God, I've got the interview. What are they cancelled? Ups and downs, and it's a hobby. It's a side hustle that has turned into so much more for us. And I see us as the family, because we want to create a place here at our home where people can come and be with us and sit around the fire pit and come and cold dunk in the sea and train if they want, and then come on a podcast and make it this as a real get after it house.
Yeah.
And a get after it environment, that you come here and we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. We've got a vague route. And then this opportunity will introduce us to someone else. And you might say, Nashy, how do I get that person? Well, here's their email address, or that's the booking agent.
Yeah.
That's what builds from this, and it's connections and it's people.
Yeah, it's so cool to think that, because I said in the first episode I put out, like, I've got a load of kit, not that sure how to use it. But what I like doing is talking to people,
Yeah.
talking to interesting people who have got a story, who've done some stuff, and maybe hearing like how you speak or how Luke speaks might help one person who's listening to it. And if it helps like even if it like half helps them a bit, it's totally worth it. And aside from that aspect, I get to go swim in the sea and light a fire pit later and just hang out with people who I wanted to hang out with anyway.
Yeah.
It's such a mad opportunity to, well, you know yourself, like I'm preaching to the choir.
Well, you are, but what I'd say to people is, look, there's so many people that don't do or don't even try or get started on things that they think they like. I didn't know I liked podcasting, but I swear within 2 days of thinking I'm going to host a podcast, I had it booked and recorded.
Yeah.
And invited one of my mates and a mortgage advisor for that Property Rugby Club show. 3 years later, I don't think I've missed a week.
Yeah.
You know, so consistent. I maybe have in 3 years. I maybe have, and there's been a family holidays. I don't think so. Or there's maybe one where there was a 2 week gap, and if I look back, there's probably a reason. It turned into consistency. It turned into I'm motivated, but motivation goes. You know, motivation, you can lack it. It just turned into consistency.
Yeah.
And discipline to get something out, not just to throw anything out, but to get a guest, or when that person that you've booked in is booked and they cancel, and they're your show that's going out on Thursday and it's Tuesday, you scramble, you manoeuvre, you work it out, and you try not to, not that let listeners down, but there are people that like the show, and there's people that want to see it every week or listen to it every week, and you want to be giving as good an effort as you can. And that's what this podcast has given me. It's given me, I don't have necessarily rugby or a sport that I train for every week. This is kind of my sport.
Yeah.
This is kind of my, as we say, hobby, but it takes discipline, consistency, and a thing that I could have quit many times.
Yeah.
So what am I getting from it? There's no money, there's no financial income here, there's nothing. No, I'm getting much more than that.
When did you think about, like, when have you thought, like, maybe this just isn't worth it?
Well, there's been times where, I don't know, you can come off a bad interview. I've had interviews where, you know, the guest didn't want to talk really. Or they've said yes, maybe they've had a bad day or something's happened and the chat didn't flow.
Yeah.
You know, and then things like that can stick with you. Things like that can put you off. Oh, it was me. It was my fault. I should have prepared better. I should have done more. There'll have been, just through life, several days you can go through bad days and you think, I'm not going to go to work. Why am I doing this? What's the point?
Yeah.
And you get through that roadblock and you realise that these things don't last forever. Something good will happen. And that often happens. That often happens to me that I'll put out 25 emails to guests. Nothing back on anything.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, what am I going to do? And why is nobody saying? Have I lost the...
You've lost the knack.
The interest isn't there for people anymore. Then one email will come back saying, sorry, you were in my junk mail, let's do it, when do you think? And it's someone like Bruce Buffer, again, UFC. It's someone that's worldly famous. And they're the UFC and the WWF guys are always the ones that spring to my mind. Because I grew up watching them.
Yeah.
And I have no right to speak to these people that are household names. But even guys like Jake Humphrey, you know, he hosts the High Performance podcast. And I told Jake Humphrey when I interviewed him, I said, Jake, you broke my heart. And I suppose that's another reason, because when he launched that with Damien Hughes, the professor, there for me is a show that's going to far outstrip mine on the quality of guests to get. Jake's a household name that presents Formula One, football. He can pick on any guest in the world and they're probably going to say yes. And he's got production companies and he's got all the kit, he's got everything. But what that gives me is just tons of excuses.
Yeah.
Just give up. Just quit. Why would you compete? Where you speak to Jake Humphrey and you look at him on a computer screen on Zoom, like we did through COVID, and he motivated me. And he G'd me up. He says, you can't quit anything. You got to keep going. He says, I'm on your show.
Yeah. Like
you know?
You can't say like, you'll get all the guests. And it's like, you got me though. Like,
well, that's it.
I think he's saying that, like, what are you saying about him? Like or...
me. I mean, just give up. And I've showed you where I record the Zoom chats and the bits and pieces. It is not a glamorous Joe Rogan studio. It is
Not yet.
Not yet. I like that. It's in my house, my home, that doubles up as my kids' playroom.
Yep.
But that is where I get after it, and it doesn't matter where I get after it because I can get guests on my show and have engaging conversations.
Yeah.
You know, and what people see on Zoom calls at the moment is a wall behind, and the guest.
And what's behind the camera doesn't matter because they never see it.
But so many people won't start because they've not got that glossy studio, or they won't have that technology behind them. But then I'm going to throw it at you. You just hit the road and get on with it.
Yeah.
You know, it's awesome that you're here. It's
Yeah.
awesome that you've reached out to the Mulligan brothers, who are the best lads, just the coolest guys and girls.
They're just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, as people to be around. Like, was really fortunate to meet them when they were up at the Stoltmans. It's that weird thing where they were, like, they knew who I was. And I was like, I just coach them, it's fine. And then, like, after Worlds, Jordan's like, you've got to do something. Like, I don't know what it is, but you've got to do it. It's like, why don't you do, like, technique videos? Or why don't you do this? So, but, like, if people need to learn to deadlift, like, look at Alan Thrall. Put really good video up about it. Like, I tell people to watch that as a coach. Like I say, like, he's explained it better. He's got a really nice video. Watch that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to do that. But chatting to people who have got interesting stories, it's like, I love listening to podcasts, so it seems logical to want to do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things I do is I chase out Joe Rogan guests.
Yeah.
You know, I reach out to them, I get no response, I get a no, I get this, that and the other, but I've got a few. You know,
Yeah.
Pat McNamara, I forget the world's strongest gay, strongman.
Rob Kearney.
Rob Kearney's been on. And I've got a few emails out at the moment inviting guests on that I just think that was an amazing interview. I would like to speak to that person.
Yeah.
I want to get that person in my world. And what happens at the end of podcasts, and quite often we'll probably have it around the fire pit later, or you when you finish recording with Luke, that's when friendships build.
Yeah.
Even on a computer screen through Zoom. That's when a conversation kicks on after. And deep down I'm thinking, God, I wish this was still recording.
About 2 hours ago I was exactly the same. I just finished chatting and then it's like, yeah, you mentioned this. Like, what are you doing on that trip? And it's like, oh, we're going to try this. I was like, I've packed all my kit away. Like, this is...
Yeah.
But then the stuff you chat about in the podcast, I think, because my approach is just no planning. Like, I know who you are. Like, I'm in your house. But I don't want to just regurgitate, like, Wikipedia stuff. Or, like, this is where, you've had this many viewers in this, and you spoke to so-and-so. And I think it just allows you to actually talk to people.
That's where I learnt a lot from going from face-to-face every interview to COVID Zoom calls.
Yeah.
The Zoom is where I do research. I'll always have notes in front. Because right now, if you and me something happen, run out of conversation, one of us will spark. Because we can tell we've got face-to-face. On a Zoom call, sometimes it's like...
It could be lag.
Is she frozen? What's going on? What are they doing? And then you have... I very rarely get it because I love to talk. I love to have the conversation going, and you take it down a rabbit hole and you get lost in a conversation. But there's sometimes those awkward bits and moments when they stop talking because they think they've finished answering your question and something's lagged. Yeah. And then there's that dead silence, and you've got, what was the train of thought there? Where are we going?
Yeah, you just don't know.
So it's the world opening back up, and it's getting us back to a place where we can do this more regularly, and people can visit comfortably other people's houses without the worry of masks and all these sorts of things.
I'm English, so it doesn't exist anymore.
You're open, you're open for business. We're here, but it's got to a point that a lot of people don't even know what the rules are and what's going on and what you can do, what you can't do, and I don't know.
We could spend about 20 hours talking about COVID
and get it all wrong.
Yeah, or get it all right, but everyone will say it was wrong, or get that bit wrong, which means everything else you've said is wrong.
Yeah,
but no, it's been a really weird time to.
It's been crazy.
Yeah, be just generally to be alive. Like, the world has shit itself a little bit. Yeah. And I thought I'd start a podcast in the middle of it.
Good on you. Well, mate, I thought I would expand mine, and I did, and I think let's say we both sit here on our own journeys.
Yeah.
and I'm very aware of I'm on my journey. Everything, this could stop tomorrow. I could, something might change where I just don't have the time, and you got to just look back every now and again. Think, what have I achieved? Because I'm guilty so much of trying to just push, go. Who's next? Who's next week? Who's next week? Did that? Took the photo. Dance here. Who's next?
Yeah.
Actually being in the moment is so crucial.
Yeah. Who's now?
Who's now? And be now. Be present. And I tell you, like my boys, I'll never forget. I thought Rocky was about to knock over your camera there when we were recording.
Yeah, same.
I'm in the moment. My kids are here, and I won't forget that image of him standing and me thinking, "Don't touch that, Rocky. Don't touch that." These little things that I'm doing now with the kids and bringing them into this world, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and they'll never forget it. Like they'll know.
Well, they'll never forget the day they met Tom and Luke.
No, you can't.
They won't, because when you see those guys on TV, they're big.
Yeah. And
when you see them at World's Strongest Man, they're around other big guys. When Rocky and Hunter stood under Tom, Luke's massive, but Tom's 6'8", and how many? 20. 100.
This morning he was 176.
176 kgs. My 4-year-old and 5-year-old looking at him.
Like below his knee.
Below his knee, they're looking at a giant, a modern day giant that is the strongest man in the world. If I never record another show, and that's a lasting memory, it's a good one.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
It's a good one.
And that's the thing, like with being up there as well, is like Scotland's beautiful. And the last 2 or 3 of these I've filmed, I've been in Scotland, and it sounds like I'm getting paid for it by like the tourist board. Because I'm just going around going, this place is brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, you lot get to live here. It's amazing. But taking your kids up there and, like, for me, driving through the Cairngorms is...
Yeah.
It's just special, man. Like, the first time I was annoyed it was... like average speed all the way up there.
Yeah, the 40. Yeah, with the yellow speed cameras and all that sort of stuff. I get it. Yeah.
And then I was like a bit stressed. It was before Worlds. I was like, I've got to get up there. We've got to train. Today I set off an hour early because I was like, I'm going to do like 40 all the way down. Because look at the place, and your kids get to grow up around that. The sea's on Google Maps. I think it thinks I'm in the sea currently.
Yeah, well, my Strava, when I go out running, I often am in the sea. So my Strava is quite funny because a lot of the routes I'm actually in water. People are like, are you swimming or are you running? What are you doing today, Nashy? Because that's what happens here. Is I go out for a run, it turns into an adventure.
Yeah.
It's great.
Do you think, like, the kids are going to... Where do you see, like, them growing up? Like, do you just want them out on the beach all the time? Like, are they outside kids? Is that a...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Without making them sound feral. But
no, they are feral. I've no problem with that. People who watch the Instagram, people who come here, they'll see my kids lighting fires. They'll see them, they're in charge. Let them have a go. They burn their fingers. They learn. That's how kids learn. They strike a match with me beside them. I put that out into the big bad world and say, this is okay. It's something that it was a close friend of mine. The British Lions are playing rugby at the moment.
Yep.
I would usually watch every single game. Haven't watched a game. I don't have Sky TV. I don't have Sky Sports. I grew up on Sky Sports. I watched every sport there was.
Yep.
My life is now outdoors with the kids and Abby. And Abby is even wilder than me when it comes to getting outside. She can't stand being inside when the sun is shining.
Yeah.
When it's raining, she still wants to be outside. We have, as you see here, and what we want to build here in this sort of get after it house, is just an outdoor lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, driving down, there's every type of ball.
In the garden.
Every sport. There's pools, trampolines, something that looks like you kick a football at it and it bounces back. Like,
yeah. No, but that's... The kids, but as we speak now, they're in the sea.
Yeah.
And they've been in the sea every night this week. And it is beautiful weather. We're fortunate we're in this heat wave or global warming problem that we've got at the moment. But
I mean, it's bad because of like polar bears and stuff.
Yeah.
But also, it's all right.
It's all right. Well, like, you looked back through my show recently, I had an environmental scientist on, and he scared the shit out of me. Like, he just spoke 100 years. If we don't start improving our behaviours, we won't have a world.
Yeah.
It's dying around us, but people are still going to farm, sell, keep going, pollute, and it's the way it is.
It's easy, isn't it? Like, it's really easy to just accept that we'll all be dead, so we don't really have to change. But
but it's my kids and their kids and the future generations that are going to feel the real impact. But the kids, as you asked, are always outside. Yeah. And they want to be. But me bringing you here brings them outside. They see a podcast set up. They see something that is this isn't necessarily new to them because they've seen this sort of thing before, but you're a new person and you're doing things differently. Yeah. And Hunter, my middle child, he's straight up to you with questions. Have you seen Tom and Luke lift that big wooden thing? And he's interested. And that's what I want to see. So create opportunities because kids are curious. Yeah. And we're curious, so let them be.
Yeah, and kids, if you let them be vocal about their curiosity, are so much more interesting than people think they are.
Oh, like hugely.
I was speaking with Amy, the psychologist or psychodynamic psychoanalyst, which I could not say in front of her.
You did well there.
It's a few goes.
Yeah.
And we were sort of chatting about the effect that growing up with social media has on kids. And she used you as an example of this is the perfect way to do it. Because there will be a social media page where the kids can just go, I'd forgotten we'd done that. Yeah. We can look back and go, I forgot, like, we'd been to so-and-so. Or, remember when we went to see Tom and Luke? Have we got pictures of that? And it's there. Yeah. They can see it. But it's so clear from meeting your kids for, like, 5 minutes that they're, like, real children. Like, they're exploring, they jump, like, they don't walk places. Like, they jump everywhere. Or they're moving quick and they want to do stuff and they're asking questions. And
when we walked in, Rocky, my youngest, was asleep on the floor.
Yeah.
And I thought he was asleep, and I introduced you to Hunter and Skylar, and they both said hi and this, that, and then Rocky and hi, Dan.
Yeah.
40 minutes later, he's in the sea.
Yep.
He's had a nap, which is a nightmare because he won't sleep when he's supposed to sleep tonight because he's had a nap, and that's a total nightmare for us later. However, it's not something. We're fortunate that we live here and we've got the outdoors and the sea and the forest all around us here. But most people do have the opportunity to walk to the park or play the foot or do something.
Yeah.
You can try if you want to. If you want to give your kids exposure to these things, you can do it.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody, and that's cool, and it really isn't. But I think it's in me to try and show my kids what's possible. And if I can bring people into their world, that if they want to be a strongman one day, I've got a couple of guys that might be able to point them in the right direction.
Yeah, you've got some decent connections.
If they want to, if Skylar wants to be a psychologist or something, I'm sure Amy would sit on a call with her. If they want to climb,
UFC fighter.
There's people out there that this podcast has created chances for me to build relationships, speak to people, and hopefully that improves my world and the kids around. But even for me in introducing guests or friends to people that they wouldn't necessarily meet, or businesses, and creating opportunities, I love that. I love to connect. I love to introduce, and like I say, this isn't. There's no sponsors on my show. There's nothing like that. It's through passion and just bloody love doing it.
Yeah, which is sort of clear to see, and it's quite refreshing that.
Not saying that it won't turn into something bigger. No, I don't know.
But there isn't 15 minutes of you can get 10% off this, you can get this, you can get that.
Well, can I tell you, the truth is I tried that at the start.
Yeah.
Tried bits. The only thing you hear at the start is it's brought to you by Ace Property Management and Sales. That's my own company. Yeah. So I give my own business a bit of a shout out.
It'd be daft to...
But right at the start, I thought I'd have sponsors coming in. I thought there'd be... I was collaborating, and I love collaborating with companies. But what's happened now, and people will send me stuff to cook on the fire pit or kit to try or t-shirts to wear, and that's cool. I don't mind that. But not everybody gets that stuff sent to them, and I don't mind that at all. But will it turn into something more business-like? Maybe.
Yeah.
But will I allow myself to lose control of it? I don't think so. I think I've got this vision of what I want the Get After It family to become, with the Get After It podcast, sort of my side opportunity to bring in really cool people. Because the other thing, and you're going to get this as you sit here at my house, is I've had guests on the show that have said, next time you're in Alaska,
let
me know. So, cool, we've got someone in Alaska now, we can go and visit them.
Yeah.
Or he'll say, you're here, you're in Anchorage, that's the place you want to go for dinner, take the kids there, and it's just a heads up. It's just, someone in different pockets of the world have come through the podcast.
Yeah, you've got you've essentially got someone everywhere.
Kind of, yeah.
Like, it's such... And like social media's got a lot of faults, but the fact that I posted a picture of me reading Nim's book, and then someone I've known for years, like a long time, guy called Owen, phenomenal musician, just beautiful person, who's like, I know some guys who live out near the Himalaya. If you ever go that way, give them a shout. Yeah. So how is this a real thing, man? Like,
yeah. Well, the kindness comes out in people when you don't expect it, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, and I think this exposes you to people in, not all the time, but sort of a raw state, because you're just chatting to people.
Yeah.
So you immediately become friends with them.
Yeah.
Or you might not in some cases. You might think, geez, I never want to speak to this person again. But there's still sort of a contact. If you take like that cynical approach, you might think...
Well, it's the old don't burn your bridges. You can have a great relationship with someone and it falls to bits if you can leave amicably.
Yeah.
I've had situations like that in business, renting flats and properties, that something goes wrong, a relationship maybe falls away a wee bit. But you don't burn the bridge. You don't leave on a bad note and you try and shake hands.
Yeah.
Or it's just silence and you don't see each other for years, or time goes by, then you rekindle that friendship. So it's trying not...
Or you don't, but you've not been actively shit to someone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I was super guilty of that in my younger life, and I was chatting about it again, like we said, after the podcast.
Yeah.
Like chatting to Robbie Phillips about it. I was like, I used to be angry and like just at everything. Like I was just angry, and if people did me or what I thought had done me wrong, that was it. Like I don't want anything to do with them. But now you just think like we're all living on like a fairly small rock in the grand scheme of things, that's spinning really quickly, and then that's moving around this nuclear bomb that's going off constantly, and somehow we're the right distance away. That means we can go swimming in the sea and eat burgers. There's no point being angry. There's no point, because like we're lucky. Like we're just like the world's fanciest monkeys. Like, that's all we are. We're like learning to cook food away from...
You sound like Joe Rogan talking about monkeys and rocks flying through the...
Planting the seed, man.
Yeah. You're on your way. As I hear, magpies and all sorts of birds crowing and squawking outside the garage.
It is absolutely gorgeous here.
Well, thank you, but it's and in the sea there's every chance you'll see a seal. There's don't worry, there's not too many jellyfish, but again, things like that, the kids just expose them to things that, Skylar wants to be a marine biologist. She's 7 and she wants to work in the sea.
That's so cool.
So we've told her what it's called, a marine biologist. I don't necessarily know what a marine biologist does, but at the moment that's what she wants to do. Hunter's football, Rocky's fighting. Rocky just loves the rough and tumble. He's 4. He doesn't know what he wants to do, but he does like the rough and tumble. Scrap. He likes watching the wrestling. Hunter's obsessed with Ronaldo. Doesn't know anything about him, just likes the way he plays football.
Yeah.
And my boy Hunter, who's 5, 6 next month, when he took up football, and he's good. He's a good wee footballer, but he's never watched a game of football.
No.
Because we don't have Sky Sports. I don't sit and watch football. Okay? He just loves it for the love of playing. Now, he's seen a bit more recently with the Euros were on normal TV.
Yeah.
And let's not pretend, I'm not kind of anti... We've still got the movie channels. We still love a movie, Abby and I and the kids and all that sort of stuff, but that comes after usually the day's been worked.
Yeah.
And if you do look at the reels I put on social media and the adventures we have, which a lot of them are local, we try to max out our days. And we watch the movies and things, but the sport I kind of took out, because I would sit and watch a lot of sport.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And I love watching sport. But I know I can watch it on catch up at YouTube at night once I'm knackered and the day's done.
You're not sacrificing time with the kids to watch sport.
Yeah, but saying that, and here's the hypocrite. The British Lions' first test is on Saturday. Yeah. I'll make time to go to a friend's house and watch that, or go to Granddad's house, my dad's house, and watch that with the boys, because I know he's got the right channels for it. But I've just taken a few things out of my life that maybe were distractions, that weren't bad distractions. They weren't bad distractions at all. But where my kids are, I took alcohol out of my life. I took all these sorts of things that I can be all in with the kids when I'm not at work and when they need me. Now, I don't get it right all the time. And Abby and I, you cross paths, and it's where you're married, you're in a relationship, and you can't be dad life the whole time.
Yeah.
But we can try and create as much opportunity for the kids as possible around what we do. And if I am present in the moment, it helps a hell of a lot.
Yeah, and like you say, distractions aren't necessarily a bad thing.
No.
But once you realise it's a distraction, it's hard to accept it again. Like, I've sort of been doing stuff and then gone, why am I doing this? And it's like, oh, it's because I don't want to deal with this. It's like, oh, well, no, I've got to deal with that because I've recognised it. And no, like, more power to you. Like, it's so clear to see, like, the impact it's having on your kids' lives at a young age. And you also know that at some point the Get After It podcast is going to have a marine biologist on it.
Maybe. She also at one stage wanted to be a mermaid, and we had to explain that one to her. But we thought,
do you know any mermaids?
I could probably get my confidence of asking anybody to come on the show, or sending emails and get rejected. I could probably ask some Disney illustrator. Find a Disney illustrator that created The Little Mermaid or something like that, or who voiced her in a movie, and could probably go down that route. That's the way I think outside the box. Because
what's so reassuring for me is exactly how I think about this. Is I'm just like, I want to talk to this person. I'll send them a message. It's like 2021. Everyone's got social media or an email or whatever, and it's like, just hearing that, and it's like, oh no, you've built something absolutely incredible, like such a good podcast, such a good way of talking to people, out of just message them, see if they come on.
Yeah, that's simply it. That's exactly it. There's a guy that I wanted called Pat McNamara. He's a former American Army Ranger, retired. But if you follow him on Instagram, must be late 50s now. He's an absolute savage.
Yeah.
And I love his training regime. I love his mindset. He's all action. All action. And I got him on. But myself, this was at the start of lockdown. And he was over in the States, and we were going on recording at, say, 8 p.m. UK time.
Yeah.
He forgot all about it. So I emailed, and my producer was still on the call. I get a message, my phone goes at about 11:30 that night saying, Alan, I'm so sorry, can record right now if you want. So I'm in, out of bed, let's go. Phoned Keith, my producer, we're live right now. Keith, he's amazing. He was like, we're on, and there he was. There's Pat McNamara. Now, you might not be recognisable to anybody listening, but you follow him, and if you're looking for someone to show you discipline, show you how a work ethic should be done, these are the kind of people I want to connect with. And it's that kind of guy that I've got no right to really speak to him. He's been around the world. He's a former military, well-known military man in America. And I reached out to him, and he said yes. It was cancelled, and 2 hours later or 3 hours later I got the opportunity, and take it.
Yeah.
Go.
Just take it.
Get it recorded. Go to sleep. Wake up next day. Say, right, got that one. How good was that? Phone Keith the next day. How funny was he? How good? What about his stories? What about that gunfight he was in? What about, And
that's so cool, man.
I've got all that on video. I've got all that on podcast. And deep down, I know when the world opens up, if I go to America and I'm in his state, I know there's a very good chance that
maybe
come on over.
Maybe,
come on over, and you plant that seed. And why not? Why not? It's like you said, we're only here once. We're on a big rock hurtling through the air,
Yeah, like, without getting heavy, we're all going to die.
Yeah, we're all going to die. So meet as many cool people or do what we can.
I was thinking of asking why you called it the Get After It podcast, but it seems ridiculously obvious after hearing you talk about how you get after it.
I think there is that. And there is, when I say get after it, I'm not out there trying to break records or like the strongmen or things like that. I just try to, as a dad, keep getting after it.
Yeah.
Because with 3 kids, I could just stop. I could just do the job get the kids to their football, to their ballet, have a barbecue, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just, like you say, we're all going to die one day. I want to keep going, keep pushing, and not look back and think, oh, remember my 30s? Remember when the kids were, I was just knackered all the time. I didn't try.
Yeah.
Instead, I'll be able to look back and say, look at what we did. Look at what we achieved. So they get after it. The podcast, they get after it. Family, it's quite an American term, to get after it, and they understand it, you know. And it's certainly a phrase it's not common here, I wouldn't think. But there's guys in America, David Goggins, and the guy Jocko Willnick's a former American hero, war hero, and they use the sayings, you know, we've got to get after it, and this, that, and the other. And I just thought, I looked around and get after it UK, get after it, this, that, and the other, and got the website, got the domain names and all that sort of stuff, and the tags on social media, and it just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Get After It with Nashy became the podcast. The Get After It family is us. And it works, and you see some merchandise coming out now and all these sorts of things. And we're going to have a kids range. We're going to have the Get After It kids range.
I mean, it's so obvious because it's for your kids.
Well, it's for my kids. It's for Abby and I. It's for to push the boundaries. Where can we take this? Can we go to Australia and I take my kit? And I reach out to people that I want to speak to. I'm going to be in Sydney, then we're going to be in Brisbane. Yes, that can all happen. You're proof of it right now. And there's people out there doing what I want to do when I can make it happen.
Yeah, that's the reason that I've I'd say portable, but it's quite a big bag I carry around. Yeah. But that's everything. Like, that's everything I need to do a podcast. Mm-hmm. And I could probably fit a couple of weeks' worth of clothes in it as well if I had to.
Yeah.
And it means that, like, November, we're going to... my partner's competing in World's Strongest Woman over in Florida. And I'm like, well, I know loads of guys who are going to be there.
Do it.
I'm going to have an apartment and I'm going to take all this kit with me.
Yeah.
And I might talk to one person, but if it's one person I couldn't have spoke to any other way, it's worth it, because I've been sort of fortunate to start this, I'm going to say post-COVID, but who knows what that means.
Yeah.
But I'm in a situation where this doesn't feel weird. Like, we can sit and talk. And I was just so aware that that's what I want to do. Like, I want that connection with people. And I think having to adapt, having to go through Zoom, having to do it that way, it's led to you talking to some amazing people who you may not have been able to speak to in a reasonable time frame beforehand. Like, you could have scheduled in someone out in the States, but...
No, I wouldn't ever have contacted 90% of the people I've had on the show if it wasn't for COVID and Zoom. That's the difference. That's what's happened. Because a lot of my show, if you look back pre-COVID, it was a lot of local folk in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And a lot of former rugby players that are friends of mine that could make it to Edinburgh. As soon as this COVID has propelled me and then created these relationships, it's also let me know I suffer huge, you might laugh at this, but if the fear of not belonging, you know, that inner critic, all that sort of stuff. He's not going to speak to me, she's not going to be interested. Well, they are. They have. The proof's there on my show. Where can we take this? So COVID, I Zoom and COVID, I agree. It's not, a chat like this is better, 100%. But it's hard to say. COVID was horrific, and it has been horrific. But you know what I mean? I've created an opportunity. It's allowed me an opportunity to really say, this is something that I am so passionate about. I've done things and spoken to people that I never thought were possible. And now as COVID maybe is relaxing slightly and things, I can see where this might go.
Yeah.
You know, Get After It live. I've had people have approached me to take this on a live show.
Yeah?
Yeah, to sit on stage and interview people and do all that. Yes, please. Yep, I'd like to do that. I think I can do that. I've got the branding, I've got the merchandise, I've got the capability through rugby, all the years as captain speeches for dinners and all that sort of stuff. I can sit on stage and interview some awesome people.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
No, that'd be so cool, man.
Come at me with opportunities, come at me with ideas. I will look at everything and I will grasp it. My battle is, I love my job.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a core job that could last me all my life. And it's getting a balance that I've not always got right. You know, I haven't always got that right. But it's responsibilities there to look after my family with the business, the property company that brings in the lifestyle and the finances to look after my family.
Yep.
And balancing that with the side hustle and the fun.
Yeah, and it is good fun, man.
It's great fun.
You've spoken to some wild people, like you say, but when you say who you spoke to, you say you don't deserve to talk to them. But why?
It's
you clearly do.
No, I do, but I've gone through. I talked about at the start. I'm on my journey, but I've gone through I've put the time in.
Yeah.
You know, when I can show you later. I'll show you the emails that I send out to people. There's a couple of little things I know that I've got to say in an email introduction that might just trigger the interest from the guest.
Yeah, rather than my approach of, "Hi mate, do you fancy doing this?"
Well, that worked for me. I was all in. You know I was. But no, you get to, and you'll get to a level, and then you'll start reaching out to people. But you do, like Tom introduced me to Drew McIntyre, WWE wrestler, Airboy. Done well. That was Tom. You didn't have to. It was actually a message to Luke. Luke spoke to Tom. Tom spoke to Drew McIntyre. I've done something in the past and built up a track record, and I'm so grateful to the two lads that they've obviously said, "Hey, you know, let's speak to Drew for Nashy."
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, lads. I was so grateful, you know. And they came on my show the first time, and they were on the computer screen in the back office at the Stokeman Centre, and a relationship was built. And you go from there, and it's incredible for me to sit on these interviews, and sometimes I can't believe I'm doing it and speaking to these people. But it happens, and it's about putting the time in, and it's about not thinking I want the best result immediately, because it often doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's.
Look at Tom; he's had to go through years and years, coming second, and go again, you know, and then he's done it. Yeah,
and I think next year, I mean, I can't wait. Like Luke next year is going to be a different animal. He's fired up. It's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. And in terms of going through the process, I think. Like I started this with one mic and didn't know what I was doing. So some of the episodes that go out, I'm not happy with. But the people I spoke to, I'm really happy with. And at some point, I'll visit them again or have a studio or get people on to improve. But I've been doing this for 2 weeks. And there's genuinely day 2, I was like, I can't do this. This isn't my jam. I like taking photos, I like doing this, but this doesn't make sense. But you think, again, we're all going to die. So why not do it?
Why not have a shot?
Because worst case, it just doesn't work. And I go, it was a good laugh. I spoke to some really cool people. Yeah. That's it. Move on to something else. But you've got to take opportunities that are there.
You do. And I think if you can grasp it with both hands and get good people around you, you know, you're fortunate. I'd say I'm fortunate because I do now and again speak to Jordan and William Mulligan. Yeah. But I mean, you've got yourself into a position through hard work and graft. The Mulligan brothers are like, Dan, what do you need?
Yeah, it blows my mind.
It's not because you don't not deserve their help, you know? Yeah. You say, I'm going to do this, and then they've said, well, right, come on, let's get going. And you couldn't have better help, you know, out there than the Mulligan brothers to say, this is a kit you need, this is what you need to do, this is how to edit. I mean, there's a good start, but you've earned that start. You've put the time in, and you've turned your attention to this to say, I'm going to take this opportunity. Because I've heard you talk about, don't quite know why people want you, why you came on my show and all this sort of stuff, because you've got something that these two Stokeman brothers use, need, benefit from, your hard graft, your work, you see something in them and look at what you're achieving. That's of great interest to me. Yeah. Now you're going to go out and turn this into a podcast and speak to people that you think are incredible. Well, let's help. Let's listen. Let's watch Dan do his thing here. Because if he can make the one man the strongest man in the world, where can he take this? So you get guys like the Mulligan brothers on your side, you get that. You got a great start. It's just got to keep pushing and keep progressing. And when you do get that one edit, you think, shit, listen to the crackle, or what was that bird crowing in the background at Nashy's house? Hey, one of these things.
Yep.
Enjoy it. Remember the moment. Remember what happened on the time, and then move on to the next one.
Yeah, I'm glad it's on film, but the look in your eyes of, was it Rocky or Hunter?
Rocky, when you had your camera on.
Yeah, it was like, I think Nashy might be over the table in a second.
But I love that, and they'll probably come charging around the corner in a minute, forget that we're doing this, and
yeah,
you'll hear kids screaming again. But that's my life, that's my world, and that's what I'm historically a pretty private guy.
Yeah,
pretty private in business and things like that. But I think Instagram, and as we talked about, the good side of social media has opened me up to kind of like, well, we have a lot of fun here, and we have a lot of cool people around. And let's show that. Let's talk about things. Let's show that the kids can light a fire. Let's show that they can be in the sea at 7 o'clock at night when it's bedtime.
Yeah.
And do all these sorts of things. And it's not every night, and it's not possible all the time, and things do go wrong, and we do have to paint walls and do all the boring stuff and the things that are life. And I do have a business and problems and, bank managers and all these sorts of things in my world that you've got to work hard to keep on side. But I don't know. Get after it, and the Get After It family is kind of what I want people to see, and I'm happy to talk about it, and I'm happy to put it out there. Because I've got, everyone's got their demons.
Yeah.
Everyone's got the bad things going on. That Instagram paints a great picture. But I think podcasting's a way that people talk a bit more honestly. And you were so honest on my show. I didn't see any of that coming.
It was weird, man. That was unexpected from my part. Because I was like, we'll just chat about Strongman. It'll be like, Tom and Luke are really good. And then I was like, telling you stories. I was like, how is, like, this man is a wizard. Like, how has this happened?
Yeah. Well, I didn't see it coming. There's not much about you out there.
No, I tried to keep...
Well, yeah. And then when you told me about your history and the backstory of you and troubles you've had and talked about autism and things like that, I've rewatched the video. I've rewatched it on YouTube. And you can see my expression. Because, oh, shit. I can't remember how I reacted now, but...
Yeah, it's like, this isn't what...
No. And like, I said it to Tom and Luke. I said I was expecting, like, Cambridge graduate, sports psychologist. That's what I was expecting. That's the naivety of me not being able to find out much about you. But that's the beauty of a podcast. That we started that chat on Zoom and it just evolved.
Yeah.
And we both were instantly comfortable. We instantly got into the flow. And my job, your job as the interviewer now, is to just get a guest talking and say as little as possible and go from there. And that's what happened. And you told your story, and I was shocked a little bit. I didn't see it coming. But then, that's Dan's story.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the point of, like, as a coach, it's about Tom and Luke. And it's not just about Tom and Luke. And it's so easy to talk about Tom and Luke. But it's about everyone I coach. Like, I love coaching. I love helping people. But that's not about me. So I don't need to go off and, like, justify what I'm doing because I want to help people.
Yeah.
The only reason this is called the Dan Hipkiss podcast is because I couldn't think of a name. And I was like, that'll do. But it's about you, and it's about Luke, it's about Robbie Phillips, and the people I've been so fortunate to talk to who I'd sort of go, Nashy, I'm up in Edinburgh, like, do you want to grab a beer? But instead we've got some delicious local Iron Brew,
welcome to Scotland. Yeah.
And just having a chat, and there's a camera on, but what I want to do is make it about people. And the fact you couldn't find much about me sort of makes me happy. I like that. Stay low, just
stay low key, and that's it. But I would urge a plug for my show. Go and listen to that to you on my show. People should listen to Dan on my show because your honesty, that will help so many people. The way you talked about what you've been through and where you're going now, the journey that you're on now. And I mean, I sit here. There might be some parents that think, we'll get the kids out a bit more and we'll do this, that, and the other. What you've gone through is life-changing to people, that you'll give people hope. That if people have been down a dark path or they're in that place at the moment with drink and drugs, and you're out, and now you're surrounded by people that can enhance your life, and you're creating friendships that you can travel the country and go for dinner and fire pits and go cold water plunging and all that sort of stuff to speaking to psychology geniuses.
Yeah.
You know, and all these sorts of things, and you're getting them in your world. I firmly believe it's only going to benefit your life. So you talking and telling your story every now and again, or just once or twice, or letting people know the message of, I've been here, I got out, and now I'm in this path. You can do it too. I think that's going to help tons of folk.
Yeah, the guy who, and it's like a blatant plug for, you know, let's see if he gets in touch or responds to anything. Joey Diaz.
Oh yeah.
His story is the one where I'm just like, shit, he has lived.
Yeah.
And he's had a dark life.
Yeah, he's my favourite. Have you reached out to him yet?
No, not yet.
I've emailed him once, never got anything back.
I know somehow there'll be someone who knows someone who knows someone who met someone who sold coke to Joey Diaz in 1986 and might still have his number.
Yeah.
And if that's the route in, that's the route in. Well,
For it, I'll paint the picture for any UK listeners that maybe aren't familiar with Joey Diaz. He's an American comedian.
Yes.
That is one of Joe Rogan's best mates, and he's been on the Joe Rogan podcast heaps of times.
Yeah. He's like
he's rough.
Go-to.
Cuban, I forget his origins.
Yeah.
But he's made a few movies. He's in The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler and all these sorts of things. But his life, through drug taking, through kidnapping, through jail time, through now being what Joe Rogan calls one of the most savage comedians of all time, he would be an amazing guest. But I bet if you just plugged away on emails and told him your story, you're the coach of the strongest man in the world, because that's on your business card now. That is a way for you to get opportunities. As Tom said, he's done something now that will probably benefit him for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
So it's something it's a wave you are entitled to ride upon. You know, you're entitled to use that because you've worked hard to get it. And Joey Diaz, where is he now? New Jersey?
Yeah, so he's half, I think, Cuban immigrant family, lives in New Jersey. His accent, it makes me feel warm.
Yeah, the big husky. Yeah, I won't even try and do it. But I bet you could get him. Because you've got an interesting history, and now you've got an incredible CV.
Yeah, and a platform that I just want to chat to. I want to hear about the man who used to sell coke to Whitney Houston, because who doesn't want to hear that story? Yeah. And I want to be shouted at in that ridiculously like.
You want him to swear at you?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like with a podcast, at first people are like really cagey about swearing.
Yeah.
And then like if your kids weren't around at the start, like early on, I'm just like, get a swear word in quick. So immediately the guest's like,
comfortable.
Oh, we can do this.
Yeah.
But I think with Joey Diaz, you haven't got a choice.
It's coming in fast. It's coming in real quick.
It's just aggressive. Like, listen to me. It's like, yep, Mr. Diaz.
But that's the thing. Like, I will wait for the message you send me when you say I've emailed Joey Diaz. You know, do it. Make yourself accountable. You've put it on this show. You want to do it, and I'm saying go and do it then.
Oh, well,
you know,
it's send the message on the way down to the beach.
It's one of it's got to be planned. And I'll tell you the little tricks that I use and the bits and pieces, and because you don't have the track, he can't go on now and see you've got 170 shows.
Yeah,
and he can't look at your website and say, oh, he's been on. You got to build a different picture. You know, why would I go on this new show? So it's working out the best way to get to people.
Yeah,
you know, and then if you get no, Lee Syatt. You know, Lee, who was his producer on his own show?
Yes.
He might be the guest you go for. And you might go through him. And he might say, yeah, I'll come on, no problem, what happened? Then you go to Joey and you say, well, Lee was on. Would you come on? You know, you got to look at how do you get to the person you need to get to? And that's not just podcast guests.
That's just life.
That's life.
I think that's probably a good message to end it on. Like, just keep plugging away until... it works. Thank you. I just keep saying it to everyone. Like, thank you so much for everything. Like, this wouldn't happen if you hadn't asked me to come on yours.
Well, I wouldn't have asked you to come on mine if you hadn't worked with Tom and the guys and done what you guys have done. You know, and Tom, you see him putting the things out there about they're so grateful to you, so that you're here because of what you've done.
Yeah, it's just a trip, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it's cool.
Spinning on a rock in the middle of a nuclear explosion. We're all going to die, but we'll have good fun doing it.
Why not, mate?
But thank you.
Let's get that fire put on. Let's go and run down, catch my family in the sea.
Yeah.
Let's, this night is not over. Let's keep
Thank
going.
you so much, man. I'll put all your social media in the description.
Yeah, get me on Instagram at GetAfterItNashy. The website's getafterit.uk. The family Instagram's the Get After It family, and that's us. That's where you'll find us.
Yep, I'll write it all down. I'll tag it, website. Listen to some of the guests he's had on. It's absolutely incredible. As always, thank you for listening to the Dan Hipkiss podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that. Joey Diaz, hit me up. And thank you. Thank you again, man.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.